What a shame. Walmart is making a slate of changes to its diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, becoming the latest in a growing list of major corporations to halt the woke initiatives. Let's go. Woo! Happy Thanksgiving. You want to talk about things I'm thankful for? That's at the top of the list. Oh, my goodness. It's been a long few years dealing with the racist DEI policies, and that's exactly what they are. They basically force you to see people as nothing other than black, white, Asian, male, female, instead of just being like, hey, treat people with respect, treat people with kindness. What happened to, like, treat people how you want to be treated? That's how we talk to our children. That's how I talk to my daughters. Hey, don't hit you. You want to get hit by your sister? No, then don't hit her. It's just common sense. Treat people how you want to be treated. Instead, this has now become a multi-million, if not multi-billion-dollar industry, and woke corporate America led the charge after 2020. But the pendulum is swinging back towards the middle, which is where it needs to be. So Walmart is joining a growing list of companies who are dropping their DEI initiatives. They confirmed it to Fox Business. They plan to change how they monitor products within its marketplace as well and review the funding of grants. The company said some products that violated its policies have been removed, such as chest binders when marketed to children. So not only are they dropping some of the policies for employees, they're getting rid of some of the crazy, nonsensical products that they were selling, like chest flatteners. And you can come to the obvious conclusion on what those would be used for, especially when geared towards children. The company also decided not to extend the Racial Equity Center that it launched back in 2020. We are going to look back on 2020 as one of the stupidest times in the nation's history. Not only did we elect Joe Biden, I mean, it's just we also created statues of a guy who was a career criminal. And then corporate America went beyond stupid and launched all these different equity centers and got fleeced by people to the tune of millions of dollars by every grifter who could get their hands on a dime from some of these places.
It's coming back on TV in your like crime series dramas that ran then that are now going over to the syndication where you see them all day or whatever. And you'll see everybody wearing a mask and you're like, oh, I remember that.
Oh, so Walmart also announcing that as part of this racial equity center that's being dropped, they're going to ditch terms like Latinx, Latinx, some may call it, Mark always corrects me on this, Latinx is the proper way to say it, and even DEI altogether in official communications. It will instead focus on the term belonging for all associates and customers. Walmart joining an array of companies in recent months, Ford, John Deere, and others to end participation in the Human Rights Campaign Corporate Equality Index, an annual survey and report used to gauge policies, practices, and benefits pertinent to lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer employees. What happened to like companies just figuring out how to sell as much product as they can? What are we doing here? Hey, if I'm Walmart, my job is to increase sales, increase revenues, which then increases profit. That's it. That's the goal of any company. Increase sales, increase profit, and figure out how to run the most efficient company imaginable and beat your competitors. Not like getting surveyed by some made-up woke organization, the Human Rights Campaign Corporate Equality Index, where they're going to gauge you on your policies and practices towards LGBTQIA plus division sign exclamation point, comma, apostrophe. What am I missing? You get the point. Here's a clip from Fox last night and what one of their contributors had to say about this news out of Walmart. Let's roll it.
American companies and lawmakers already rolling back DEI initiatives in response to Trump's election victory. Did DEI die on November 5th?
I think it certainly did. And you're already seeing some of the consequences of this in the private sector, where several companies are sort of rolling out these plans to roll back their own DEI initiatives that they've set in place over the past few years. But of course, I think it's going to be much more difficult to tackle DEI at the root than these companies and even some Republicans may expect. And that's because this is a big money-making racket, Todd. One Harvard professor estimates that U.S. companies spend about $8 billion per year on diversity trainings alone. That does not include the very profitable DEI consultants who can charge up to 6 figures for their work when they go into some of these corporations. And then, of course, there's the other issue, which is that even if you get rid of DEI initiatives in some of these private companies, and even at the federal government level, you still have not tackled the root of the issue, which is higher education. These ideas did not come from nowhere. They need to be torn out root and branch from our colleges and our universities, which, by the way, are also funded by our taxpayer dollars.
Oh, wow. Okay, so those comments came from Kaylee White, Restoring America editor. I didn't realize $8 billion. $8 billion. And yes, it is racketeering. It is a grift. Or these people show up to corporate America. They say, pay me $100,000. I'll teach your people why they're all a bunch of racists. And I'll teach them how to be less racist. And these CEOs are like, oh, that sounds pretty. Boy, I wouldn't want any racists in my building. I don't know about you, but like if I'm going to hire somebody for a job and I think they're a racist, I don't hire them. If I think somebody is a sexist, I wouldn't hire them. If I think somebody wouldn't treat others well, I don't hire them. That's why I hire upstanding guys like John and Mark. I wouldn't hire bad people. What does it say think about it. What does it say about leaders in an organization if they think all their employees need training about how to not be a racist and a sexist and an ageist and whatever else? It says you're doing a terrible job hiring people if you think your own employees need the training, John.
Well, see, we are that, but we didn't even realize that.
Well, that's a good point. It's about you being a racist and a sexist without really knowing.
You didn't know it.
You didn't know it. And it usually only goes one way, right? It usually only is directed towards one group of individuals.
That's been my lived experience, as Sonny Hostin would say.
So I saw this great chart. It was satire, but I will share it with you here on KCMO. And the top of the chart reads, if a white person, and then it has all these boxes underneath. It says moves out. Then it goes to the box below it, white flight. The box below it, all leads to racism. If a white person moves in, gentrification. That leads to racism. If a white person doesn't see color, you're ignoring racism. That's racist. If a white person doesn't partake in culture, you're non-inclusive. You're a racist. If a white person engages in culture, well, that's cultural appropriation. Mm-hmm. You're a racist.
The Moana problem.
Exactly. It reminds me of the Moana clip from Am I a Racist, the Matt Walsh documentary done by the Daily Wire. Of course, we carry Matt Walsh's show 8 p.m. here on KCMO, where he's exploring his inner racism. And he's having that exact conversation with a lady. And it's absolutely hysterical. We had the clip a couple of weeks ago. I'm not going to ask you guys to dig it up right now. But it's hilarious because he's talking to a mother, and she's upset that her daughter only likes the white princesses. And then Matt Walsh says, well, here's the thing, though. If your daughter liked Moana or Tiana from Princess and the Frog, then could they really dress up as those two characters for Halloween? Because that would be cultural appropriation. And then she goes, well, that's an excellent point. Do you have it
Pinball
there?
Machine, tilt.
Yes, exactly right. You got it, Mark? Nice job, buddy. Let's roll it.
According to leftism, when our gut says that guy looks dangerous or don't walk that way or this seems kind of sketchy, we're being driven by the racism embedded deeply in our subconscious, and we should ignore it. The proper response, they say, is to ignore what our gut is telling us and charge ahead. And this is not a straw man. Like, go up to any DEI professional and ask them. Show them the first part of that video before we get to the stabbing and the guy going crazy.
There's part of Matt Walsh and just him putting a hole in the DEI crazy that exists. He does a great job with it every single night here on KCMO Talk Radio. But that right there is just part of the case in point of what you get. So corporate America's waking up. Maybe woking up is the better way to put it. I don't know. But I think November 5th for a lot of these people was a wake-up call that they needed. And it's not just, well, Trump won, right? The Electoral College. He won the popular vote. He made gains in every demographic group. And if they're going to learn anything, if these CEOs are going to learn anything from what's happened in this country over the last few years, well, I hope that they just swing the pendulum back to the middle on some of these insane initiatives that they have spent apparently $8 billion. You heard that right. $8 billion on in recent years. A lot of people have gotten very wealthy on this grift, and I hope they save their money because the grift needs to die a fast, quick death.
You're right about that. The wake-up call has come. There's still a few, though, pounding the snooze alarm, right?
Well, ain't that the truth?
Got a couple.
Yes,
but
they're
slowly
out
but surely.
there. They're out there.